The planner's pen scratched the paper as I slid the receipt across the table. The number glared at me, $55,000. My hand shook, and the ink smeared where my thumb pressed too hard. Before I could breathe, my daughter-in-law's voice cut through the chatter. Only 55? No wonder this party looks trashy. Guests turned their heads. Their laughter suddenly stopped, and the receipt in her hand felt heavier than any stone. Mark, my own son, didn't defend me. He lowered his eyes, pretending not to hear. The glass in his hand trembled, and yet he took a sip, as if her words were nothing. The sting burned deeper than the champagne bubbles hitting my throat earlier. I had sold bonds my wife once picked for our retirement. I told myself it was for family, for love. Now I stood branded as cheap in front of everyone. The air smelled of roses, but it didn't sweeten the humiliation. Her perfume, sharp, metallic, cut through like a blade on skin. I tried to steady my breath, but whispers swirled like smoke around me. One woman leaned toward another, eyes on me, lips moving quick. Did they believe her? Did they think I had held back, that I wasn't good enough? I gripped the receipt tighter, paper edges slicing my palm. The planner's eyes met mine, hesitant, almost pitying. He knew the check had cleared, every cent had been paid on time. Still, he leaned in, lowering his voice so only I could hear. There's another invoice, catering. It hasn't been covered yet. My stomach dropped. My chest tightened as if the room had shrunk. Another invoice? Another debt tied to my name? I pushed the paper back toward him, desperate for air. I've already paid everything. Show me what you mean. He hesitated, then pulled a folded sheet from his folder. It crinkled loudly, too loudly, against the silence that had fallen. I took it with shaking hands, and the inked words blurred before my eyes. Balance due? $12,000. Deadline? Tomorrow. Noon. I looked toward my son again. Mark avoided my gaze. His fingers tapped the glass, then the table, then back to the glass. An old habit. He always did that when he lied. My throat dried. Did he know? Did he hide this from me? I wanted to ask, to shout, but the words stuck. I swallowed hard, tasting copper where I had bitten my tongue. The band began tuning instruments across the hall. Strings screeched. A trumpet coughed. The sound was a cruel mockery of the chaos inside my chest. My daughter-in-law laughed again, soft but sharp enough to draw blood. She brushed her hair back, showing the diamond bracelet I had bought last Christmas. She didn't thank me then. She certainly wouldn't now. I folded the catering invoice into my pocket, the paper hot against my thigh. Could I pay it? No. I had drained my last savings. I had nothing left but the house. And if I touched that, I risked everything. My wife's chair in the corner, her books lined on the shelves. Our life. Would I mortgage it? For a woman who mocked me before strangers? My hand trembled, but I forced it still. Not here, not now. A waiter passed, tray of champagne flutes clinking, one tipped, splashing cold liquid down my sleeve. The sting startled me back into the moment. No one noticed. Or maybe they did. And they smiled behind their hands. I dabbed at my sleeve with a napkin, the faint smell of citrus rising from the damp cloth. I pressed the napkin against my skin until it hurt, as if pain could anchor me. The planner's whisper lingered. Tomorrow, noon. Those words carved into me like chiseled stone. If I didn't act, the wedding would unravel before the vows were spoken. Food gone. Guests turned away hungry. Shame multiplied, and all of it pinned on me. My heart pounded so loud it drowned the music. Noon, tomorrow, an execution hour, written in ink. Mark finally stood, raising his glass. To family, he said, voice strong, too strong. He looked everywhere but at me. My jaw locked as his words rang false. Family? Was that what this was? Family? Or a theater where I played the fool, paying for their stage while they sneered from the spotlight? The toast ended. Glasses clinked. Mine stayed on the table, untouched. I remembered the last words my wife said before she passed. Don't let them use you. Her voice came back like a wind through an open door, and for a second I smelled her lavender soap. My throat closed. I clenched my fist around the napkin, damp and torn now, a shred of something that once felt clean. Could I walk away? Could I say no? A woman brushed my arm as she passed. Lovely party, she whispered. Her eyes lingered on mine for a second too long, pity wrapped in politeness. I forced a smile that cracked at the edges. Lovely? Yes, lovely, with a $12,000 shadow hanging above me, ready to fall by tomorrow. I tried to catch Mark alone, but he slipped between guests, always just beyond reach. My chest burned with each step I took, each corner I turned. He laughed with her, whispered into her ear, kissed her hand. His smile grew wider as mine fell apart. Did he know I held the invoice? Did he wait for me to crack under the weight? I stopped near the bar. The bottles lined up like soldiers, clear and sharp in the light. Whiskey, gin, rum. I wanted to pour one down my throat, drown the shame. But I held back. A drunken father was another humiliation they would gladly pin on me. I swallowed hard and left the glass untouched. A small boy ran past, balloon bouncing on a string. His laughter pierced the silence inside me. For a second, I envied him. No invoices, no debts, no poisoned words from family. Just a balloon, a string, and joy that didn't cost $55,000. I blinked, and the balloon vanished around the corner. I gripped the folded invoice in my pocket again, edges cutting deeper. What if I refused? What if I let it all fall apart? Tomorrow at noon, everyone would know who failed. Everyone would point at me. Could I survive that shame? Could I survive losing my son's respect? What little was left of it? The planner's eyes found mine again across the room. He raised 2 fingers. 2 warnings left. His gesture said, pay or perish. My legs wobbled, and I sat before they gave out. The chair groaned under my weight, a sound that echoed too loud in my ears. I glanced at the clock on the far wall. Its hands ticked slow but steady, a cruel march toward tomorrow. Every tick a nail hammered into me. I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted iron. I could buy time, but not much, not enough. Dad, Mark's voice finally reached me, soft but sharp. He leaned down, smile for the guests, venom for me. Don't ruin this. Just handle it. His hand pressed my shoulder, light as silk, but heavy as chains. Then he walked away before I could speak. I pressed my palm flat against the table, wood smooth beneath my skin. The catering invoice burned in my pocket. Noon tomorrow. The deadline pulsed like a drumbeat in my head. I had no answer, no money, no way out. The music swelled. The band finally found their tune. But all I heard was the whisper of paper against cloth, the weight of $12,000 I didn't have. Tomorrow, noon, and I alone carried the burden. If these stories keep you company at night, subscribe so I can keep bringing them to you. No one judges here. And just then the planner returned. He bent down, eyes grim, and slid a sealed envelope into my hand. The envelope was heavy, thicker than it should be. I held it close, the paper stiff, edges sharp against my palm. For a moment I thought it might cut straight through my skin. The planner leaned away, pretending nothing had happened. Guests laughed in the background, their voices tangled like wires. My daughter-in-law's perfume lingered in the air, sharp, burning my throat. I wanted to open it, but the eyes around me froze my hand. The violin screeched again as the musician tuned, a sound so harsh it scraped down my spine. A glass clinked. Someone whispered. The envelope felt like fire now. Could I risk opening it here in the open? Or should I wait until I was alone, away from their hungry stares? I tucked it into my jacket, but too late. Her eyes, those cold, perfect eyes, locked on mine. She tilted her head, lips curling. Hiding something, Dad? The word Dad dripped with sarcasm. My chest tightened. Mark laughed at her side, a laugh too quick, too nervous. He knew she had noticed. He let her strike anyway. The guests shifted, curious. Chairs scraped against the floor. A woman cleared her throat, soft but sharp enough to cut the silence. They smelled blood in the water, and I was the bleeding fish. I lowered my gaze, but the stares clung to me like hooks. My skin burned, every pore screaming that I didn't belong here. The champagne cork popped again, startling me. Liquid sprayed across the table, droplets landing on my hand. Cold, sticky. The sound drew more attention, pulling every eye back to me. I wiped the drops with my napkin, but the stain remained. Like shame, it would not wash away. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. I tried to breathe. The air was thick. The planner whispered near the door, pretending not to watch. The band played a few warm notes, but even the melody stumbled. My son raised his glass again, pretending to joke with his friends. But I saw the twitch in his jaw. He wanted me silent. He wanted me small. I touched the envelope through the fabric of my jacket. The paper crinkled under my fingers, loud in my ears. Did anyone else hear it? Was it just me? My wife's voice echoed in my head again. Don't let them use you. But wasn't I already used? Already drained, left hollow? A waiter approached with a tray of canapes. The smell of garlic butter filled the air, thick and suffocating. My stomach turned. I hadn't eaten all day. Still, I waved him off. If I tried to swallow, the bitterness in my throat would choke me. He nodded and moved on, leaving the scent heavy behind. Mark brushed past me, close enough for me to hear his whisper, "Handle it, Dad. Don't make a scene." His hand brushed my shoulder, light, dismissive. The heat rose in my chest, a wave of anger, but I swallowed it down, forcing my fist to unclench. If I spoke now, the wedding would crack open. Maybe that was what he feared most, or maybe that was what he wanted. I closed my eyes for a second. A sound drifted from the corner, shoes tapping against tile, a nervous rhythm, repeating. When I opened my eyes, I saw the planner again. He avoided my gaze, tapping his foot faster. He knew something the envelope carried, something he couldn't say out loud. The cost pressed harder against me. $12,000 unpaid. A sealed envelope, heavy as stone. My savings gone. My wife's ring still on my finger, the last promise of security. Should I pawn it? Could I? No, not yet. Not unless there was no other way. I pressed it tight, the gold warm, skin sweating beneath it. A child's laughter broke the tension. For 1 second, it sounded sweet, almost saving. But then I saw the boy pointing, whispering to his sister, eyes fixed on me. Even innocence turned into mockery tonight. My chest hollowed, my legs weakened. How much longer could I stand here before collapsing under their gaze? The band struck a louder chord, filling the room. A false cover, music pretending everything was normal. Yet the whispers slithered through, hidden beneath the melody. I heard the words, cheap, hiding, not enough. Every syllable cut like glass. My cheeks burned, my ears rang. I wanted to leave, to escape through the side door and never return. But the deadline chained me here. Tomorrow, noon. If I walked away tonight, they would call me a coward. They would say I ruined everything. They would carve my name into shame forever. The envelope seemed heavier with every second. My hand twitched to pull it out, to tear it open. But what if it contained something worse? What if it confirmed their laughter, a truth I couldn't deny? I let it stay hidden. A postponed decision. Not now. Not in front of them. The waiter passed again. His tray lighter now, fewer glasses, fewer smiles. He glanced at me, eyes soft with pity. Did he see through it? Did he know I was trapped? For a moment I wished he would speak, say anything. But he kept walking, his silence louder than words. The chandelier above flickered. Light dimmed, then steadied. A murmur swept the guests, a nervous ripple. Small, insignificant, but it hooked me. A sign? Or just bad wiring? My wife used to say, pay attention to small things. They reveal more than people admit. I looked back at the planner. His eyes avoided mine still. Mark's laughter rang louder now. Forced. Too loud. He leaned into his bride, but his hand gripped her arm hard, pulling. She pulled away with a glare. Even in their joy, cracks showed, but no one else seemed to notice. Or maybe they chose to ignore it, as they ignored me. I sipped water finally, cold, metallic against my tongue. It steadied me, if only for a breath. My reflection trembled in the glass, older, weaker, a man who had already given too much. I set it down, harder than I meant. The thud silenced a few whispers, but only for a moment. The cost of silence grew heavier. Each minute I waited, the bill in my pocket burned hotter. Would they cancel food? Would guests leave hungry? Would the wedding collapse? Or worse, would I be the one to beg tomorrow, humiliated again, while they feasted on my sacrifice? The clock ticked, steady and cruel. My eyes followed its hands. Time crawled, but the deadline drew closer with each beat. Noon tomorrow. Not enough hours, not enough hope. Only weight pressing harder and harder. My daughter-in-law brushed past me, her gown shimmering under the light. She leaned close, her breath sweet but bitter. Don't embarrass us, she hissed. Her nails tapped the table as she walked away, a sound like claws on wood. Guests laughed again, louder now, as if her words had released them. I gripped the envelope once more. My hand trembled. Should I open it here? Expose whatever truth it carried? Or wait, risk the unknown until tomorrow? My chest burned, my vision swam. I forced my hand back into my lap. Not yet. Not tonight. And then the planner moved toward me again. His steps urgent, his hand clutching another paper, his lips parted. But before he could speak, the room fell silent. The microphone at the stage screeched alive, and my son walked forward, glass raised, his smile wide. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark's voice boomed, there's something you all should know. The microphone squealed, and every head turned. My son's voice rang out, too steady, too smooth. This wedding is possible because of sacrifice, he said. My heart skipped. For a moment, hope flickered. Maybe finally he would acknowledge me. But then his eyes slid past me, never meeting mine, and the hope cracked in half. He raised his glass higher. "We're grateful for all the help we've received. Every little bit counts." His words dripped like honey, but they stung like acid. Guests clapped, smiling at him, at her, at the image they painted. No one looked at me. No one saw the sweat running down my back, the paper burning in my pocket. The applause echoed. I sat frozen, hands tight on the table's edge, my nails dug into the wood until it left marks. He didn't name me. He didn't mention the $55,000 already gone. He only smiled, letting the lie shine. My throat tightened. Was this his game? Pretend I'd given nothing, so they could demand more? The planner's paper brushed my arm, pulling me back. He slid the second invoice into my hand under the table. The faint smell of ink and old paper rose up, bitter and dusty. I glanced at the number. $12,000 due, noon tomorrow. If unpaid, catering canceled. I blinked hard, my vision swimming. It wasn't just talk anymore. It was written, sealed, undeniable. I shoved it deeper into my jacket, praying no one saw. But my daughter-in-law's eyes lingered again, sharp as glass. She smiled at a guest, whispered into his ear, then looked back at me. That smile widened. She knew. Maybe not the details, but she knew. The shame flushed my cheeks red. The violinist struck the opening notes of a waltz. Couples rose to the floor. Dresses swirled. Shoes clicked. My chair felt like a cage now. The music carried joy, but all I heard was the ticking clock inside my head. Noon tomorrow. A deadline carved into stone. I stood, forcing my legs to move. I had to confront him, had to face my son. My steps felt heavy, dragging across polished wood. I caught his eye for a second. His smile faltered, but only for a moment. Then he turned back to his bride, kissing her cheek, dismissing me. I reached him at the edge of the dance floor. "Mark," I said, voice low but firm. His head tilted slightly as if he hadn't heard. "The caterer. Did you pay them?" His smile thinned. "That's on you, Dad. You're the one who promised." He clinked his glass against another's and turned away. My stomach lurched. "That's on you." 3 words, cold as ice. My palms burned as if branded. I had promised, yes, but only after he assured me all major expenses were handled. I had trusted him, my own son, and now the truth cut deeper than betrayal. He had left me with the noose around my neck. I staggered back, catching the table for balance. The silverware rattled, a sharp metallic clang that drew stares. My chest heaved. I forced a weak smile, pretending all was fine. But inside, rage burned like wildfire, rage and fear. Could I find $12,000 by tomorrow? Could I save the wedding or let it collapse? The waiter passed again, tray empty this time. "More drinks?" he asked softly. I shook my head. My voice wouldn't come. He nodded, eyes filled with quiet pity, and walked on. That pity cut as deep as my son's words. Everyone could see the cracks, everyone but the one who should have cared most. The chandelier above cast a warm glow, but it mocked me. Gold light on polished surfaces, while I drowned in debt and silence. My fingers toyed with the napkin, tearing it slowly. Fibers stuck to my damp hands. My wife's ring gleamed under the light, a reminder of promises broken and promises I still had to keep. I sat again, breath shallow. Noon tomorrow. If I didn't pay, food gone, guests furious, shame eternal. If I did pay, I'd risk losing the house. The walls I built with my hands, the rooms where my children laughed, where my wife breathed her last. Could I risk that for him, for her, for their cruelty? A glass shattered nearby, sharp sound splitting the music. Gasps followed, but it wasn't me this time. A guest had dropped it, too drunk, too careless. Relief flooded me for a second. Not my shame this time, not my mistake, but the moment faded quick, and the paper in my pocket reminded me of tomorrow. My daughter-in-law drifted closer, gown sweeping the floor. She leaned in, smile wide for others, venom quiet for me. "If the food disappears, it'll be your fault. Everyone will know." Her perfume burned my nostrils. She walked away before I could respond, her laughter slicing through the music. I wanted to shout, to stand up and expose everything, the forged signatures, the hidden bills, the truth about Mark's silence. But I bit my tongue, tasting blood. Not here, not yet. The humiliation would drown me faster than silence. I would wait, for what I didn't know, but I would wait. A strange detail caught my eye. The planner again, standing near the kitchen doors. He tapped his foot faster now, and his fingers twisted a pen until it bent. He wouldn't look at me. Fear etched into his face. He knew something more, something worse, and he was hiding it. The music swelled, laughter louder, but my world shrank to the ticking clock. Every tick a reminder. Every second a nail hammered into my chest. I sipped water again, metallic taste grounding me, but it didn't soothe. The deadline loomed larger. 12,000. Impossible in less than 24 hours. I thought of pawning my wife's ring. The thought alone made me sick. My fingers tightened around it, skin hot. No, I whispered to myself. Not yet. Not unless there was no other choice. A postponed decision. One that cut as deep as any wound. The smell of roasted meat drifted from the kitchen, rich and heavy. My stomach clenched with hunger, but the scent mocked me. Would it all vanish tomorrow? Would the caterer pack up, leaving empty plates and angry guests? Would my shame be the final course served at their wedding? Mark laughed again, voice carrying above the music. He looked radiant in their eyes, admired, respected. My chest hollowed. How could they not see? How could they not notice the cracks in his smile, the lies behind his words? Or did they choose not to? I reached into my pocket, fingers brushing the invoice again. My hand trembled. Should I confront him again, louder this time? Or would that only bury me deeper? My decision lingered, postponed once more, crushing me with its weight. The planner moved at last, breaking from the wall. He strode toward me, urgency in his steps. My pulse quickened. Maybe he would speak. Maybe he would finally reveal the truth. But just as he reached me, the doors burst open. The caterer stormed in, face red, voice booming across the hall. "Payment by noon," he shouted, "or everything stops." The caterer's voice cut through the hall like a blade. "Payment by noon tomorrow, or we cancel it all." The music faltered. Guests froze mid-step on the dance floor. Laughter died into whispers. My heart hammered so hard it shook my chest. And in the silence that followed, my daughter-in-law's laugh cracked loud and cruel. "There you have it," she said, twirling her glass. Her voice rang clear, dripping venom. "He can't even pay for food. What a joke." Gasps rippled through the tables. Faces turned toward me, eyes sharp, curious, hungry for scandal. My hands gripped the table edge, nails biting wood as heat surged to my face. Mark didn't speak. My son stared at the ground, jaw tight, shoulders stiff. He didn't defend me, didn't tell them it wasn't true, that I'd already given more than they'd ever imagine. His silence cut deeper than her mockery. Silence worse than knives. My stomach twisted, bile rising in my throat. I tried to stand, to answer, but my legs trembled, refusing. The chandelier's light blurred above me, spinning, glaring. The smell of spilled champagne clung to my sleeve, sticky, sour. My throat closed around words I couldn't push free. My daughter-in-law's smirk widened, feeding on my silence. A cough broke through the room. Then whispers layered, overlapping, buzzing like bees. I caught fragments. Didn't pay. Cheap. All show. My ears burned. My tongue felt thick. Useless. My body ached with the weight of shame pressing me down. My son remained still, his glass half raised, frozen in cowardice. The planner rushed forward, grabbing my elbow. His grip was firm, urgent. "Come with me," he whispered. I stumbled after him, legs dragging across the polished floor. Eyes followed, tracking me like predators. I wanted to disappear, to vanish, through the walls. But the weight of their gaze chained me in place. He pulled me toward the corner near the kitchen doors. The clatter of pans echoed behind them, harsh and metallic. The smell of roasted meat and garlic hung thick, suffocating. He leaned close, hand trembling as he reached into his jacket. When he pulled it free, he held a sealed envelope. "For you," he muttered. His eyes darted across the room, afraid of being seen. The envelope shook between his fingers. Its paper was heavy, crisp, sealed with wax. My chest tightened. Why another? Why now? My hands trembled as I took it. The wax felt warm, softening under my thumb. "What is this?" My voice was barely a whisper. He shook his head, lips pressed tight, refusing to answer. His foot tapped the floor, faster and faster, betraying his nerves. I wanted to tear it open, but fear froze me. What truth hid inside? Could I survive hearing it aloud? Behind me, the laughter swelled again. Her laughter, cold, sharp, slicing through the air like broken glass. "See," she said to the guest, "even the planner doesn't trust him. He has to be babysat." The words stabbed deep. Shame wrapped around me like chains, dragging me further down. I clenched the envelope so tight the edges cut my palm. A sting of pain. A thin line of blood welled, bright against my skin. I pressed it closed with my napkin, the fabric soaking red. The metallic tang reached my nose, grounding me for a moment. My wife's voice whispered again, "Stand tall?" But how? Every eye was still on me, every whisper another stone hurled. My son's silence, another betrayal. I wanted to shout, to break the facade, to burn it all down. But my throat refused. My decision postponed again, swallowed with my pride. The envelope burned hotter in my hand. The planner's face was pale, beads of sweat shining under the chandelier's glow. He leaned closer. "Not here. Open it later." His whisper cracked, barely holding steady. His fear unsettled me more than the caterer's threat. Whatever truth the envelope carried, it was darker than unpaid bills. I staggered back toward my chair, my legs heavy, my hands shaking. The crowd parted, but not out of respect. Their eyes followed, sharp, piercing, dissecting me. I lowered myself into the seat, wood hard against my back. The envelope lay on the table, silent, waiting. Mark's bride leaned close to him, her voice carrying just enough. "Your father's pathetic." He didn't answer. He didn't defend me. He just stared at the glass in his hand, swirling it slowly, as if the answer hid in the golden liquid. My chest ached so fiercely I could barely breathe. The band struck up again, trying to mask the tension. But the notes wavered, sour, brittle. Music couldn't bury the whispers, couldn't silence the shame. I pressed my napkin harder against my hand, blood seeping through. A reminder, pain is real. Humiliation is worse. I stared at the envelope, my reflection faint in its wax seal. Should I open it now? Expose whatever lay inside? But what if it revealed more humiliation? Another debt? Another betrayal? My decision wavered, postponed yet again. I pressed it flat against the table, feeling its weight anchor me. The waiter passed once more, his tray now empty, his steps slower. He glanced at me, eyes filled with pity, and shook his head. No words, just pity. I hated it more than her laughter. Pity meant they all saw me as beaten, weak, useless. My chest burned hotter. Mark finally stood, setting his glass down hard. The sound echoed, startling the guests. For a moment, I thought he'd speak, defend me, tell them the truth. But he only smiled again, brittle and forced. "Let's enjoy ourselves," he said. "No need for drama." His words erased me completely. I wanted to shout back, "No need for drama? Look at me. Look at the bill in my pocket. Look at the blood on my napkin." But the words stayed buried. My wife's face flashed in memory, eyes firm, voice calm. "Don't let them break you." I bit my tongue, holding silence like a shield. A gust of air drifted from the kitchen as the doors swung open. The smell of onions and smoke rolled out, thick, stinging my eyes. A reminder of what was at stake. If the bill wasn't paid, all of it would vanish. The feast, the celebration, the illusion of perfection, all gone, leaving only shame. The chandelier flickered again, light dimmed, shadows stretching long across the room. A woman gasped. Someone muttered about bad wiring, but my eyes locked on the envelope. The wax glistened under the weak light, as if daring me to open it. My hand twitched toward it, then pulled back. My daughter-in-law's laughter sliced the air once more. Her nails tapped the table in rhythm, click, 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 a gesture of mockery, of triumph. My son's silence wrapped around me like a noose. Noon tomorrow. A deadline, a choice, and the envelope in front of me waiting to be torn open. I reached for it, fingers trembling. My nails dug into the wax, almost breaking the seal. But before I could, the planner appeared again, urgency written across his face. He leaned close, whispering so fast I barely caught it. "Not now. Wait. It's from her." My blood froze. From her? My wife had been gone for 3 years. Yet the planner pressed my hand shut over the envelope, his eyes wild. My breath caught, my chest seized, and before I could demand an answer, the band stopped mid-note. 3 sharp knocks rattled the hall doors. The knocks thundered again, 3 times, each louder than the last. Conversations died. Glasses froze midway to lips. Even the chandelier trembled, its crystals swaying with faint metallic chimes. My heart thudded in my chest, the sound louder than the silence around me. The envelope lay in my palm, hot, as if it carried a pulse. The planner's eyes darted toward the doors. His lips pressed tight, as though he knew what waited on the other side. "Later," he hissed, gesturing at the envelope. My fingers closed around it tighter, wax seal digging into my skin. My breath quickened. If this really was from her, from my wife, how? She'd been gone 3 years. A servant hurried to the doors. The wood creaked open, revealing only the night outside. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of rain on pavement. No one stood there, no messenger, no intruder, just emptiness. Gasps filled the hall, followed by awkward laughter, but unease lingered in every corner. I tucked the envelope into my jacket once more, the wax pressed firm against my ribs. My wife's voice echoed in memory. Stand tall. I could almost smell her lavender soap, faint, impossible, yet there. My throat closed, tears pricking my eyes. Was this a cruel trick, or her hand reaching from beyond? The band tried to resume, but their music faltered off-key. Guests murmured, whispering about the knocks, about me, about the shame of unpaid bills. My daughter-in-law's smirk widened, feeding on every rumor. She leaned across the table, nails tapping, voice sharp enough for all to hear. He can't even pay for food, and now he's hiding ghost letters. Heat surged to my face. Rage burned in my chest. My fists clenched beneath the table. I wanted to stand, to hurl the envelope at her feet, to shout that it was from my wife. But fear stopped me. What if it wasn't? What if it was only another trick to break me? Mark sat stiff, avoiding my gaze. His silence weighed more than her venom. My son, my blood, my air, sitting there as if none of this mattered. He had left me alone in the fire, hands folded, lips sealed. I bit my tongue until I tasted iron. The pain steadied me for only a breath. The chandelier flickered again, throwing shadows across his face. For a moment, I thought I saw him smirk, but when the light steadied, his features returned to stone. Did he enjoy this? Did he want me humiliated, crushed beneath her laughter? My stomach turned, nausea rising. The planner reappeared, standing close enough to whisper, "Open it tonight. Alone. Not here." His hand brushed my shoulder, trembling. He looked pale, frightened, like a man carrying a secret too heavy. His fear bled into me. I nodded, though my heart screamed to rip it open now. My daughter-in-law raised her glass again, smirk never fading. "To fathers who promise more than they can deliver," she said. Guests laughed, some awkwardly, some with cruel delight. The toast burned hotter than fire in my ears. I stared down at the table, my hands trembling. Shame weighed me into silence. The silverware rattled as I struck the table with my palm. The noise startled even me. Gasps rippled again. I rose halfway, then froze, all eyes locked on me, waiting, hungry, my throat closed, words choking silent. I sat back down, smaller than ever, my heart collapsing under their gaze. The waiter appeared, offering a fresh drink. I waved him away with a trembling hand. My stomach couldn't bear it. His eyes lingered with pity. Then he slipped back into the shadows. I hated that pity. Almost more than I hated her laughter. It marked me weak, and weakness was blood in the water. The band struck a brighter tune, trying to erase the tension, but it was hollow, empty, a mask that fooled no one. My chest tightened with every note, a cage closing tighter. The envelope dug harder into my ribs. My wife's words rang louder. "Don't let them use you." The smell of roasted meat drifted from the kitchen, rich and heavy, but it sickened me. Would it all vanish tomorrow if I failed? Would hungry guests curse my name as they left? Noon tomorrow. The deadline pounded in my head like a drumbeat, time slipping through my fingers like sand. Mark leaned closer to me, finally speaking. "Dad," he muttered, voice low, "just take care of it. Don't ruin this." He didn't meet my eyes, didn't thank me, didn't admit his part. He only pressed the burden deeper into my chest, then turned away. Rage and grief twisted inside me like blades. The chandelier above swayed slightly, crystals clinking. A faint breeze drifted down, carrying dust. It coated my tongue, bitter, dry. I coughed into my napkin, the red stain from earlier, now darker, almost brown. Pain and humiliation pressed together, crushing me smaller with every breath. I thought of pawning the house. The image sickened me. My wife's books on the shelves, her chair by the window, the garden she planted with her hands. Could I sell all of it just to keep their feast alive? My hand gripped the envelope tighter. If her words were inside, maybe they'd guide me. My daughter-in-law's laughter pierced again, crueler now. "Don't choke, Dad," she said. Gasps mixed with nervous chuckles. I stared at her, my eyes burning. She smiled wider, feeding off my silence. I wanted to shatter the glass in her hand, but I stayed still, every muscle screaming. The planner tapped his watch from across the room. A warning, a signal. Time was running out. My chest heaved with the weight of unmade choices. I wiped my mouth, my hand trembling. Guests were already leaning closer, gossip slipping like poison across the tables. The violin struck a sour note, high-pitched, grating. It felt like a scream. My head pounded in rhythm, pain swelling behind my eyes. Noon tomorrow. $12,000. A sealed envelope from my dead wife. Every second pulled me closer to breaking. I rose again, legs shaking. Enough, I whispered, barely audible. My voice failed me. Guests leaned forward, straining to hear. But my words cracked, fell into silence. I sank back down, smaller than ever. The envelope pressed against my ribs, a weight heavier than the whole room. Mark clapped his hand suddenly, calling for attention. "Tomorrow will be perfect," he declared. His bride smiled, radiant for the crowd, venom for me. Guests clapped, laughing again. The sound thundered in my ears, drowning everything else. My body trembled, trapped in their theater. I slid my hand into my jacket, fingers curling around the envelope. My thumb pressed the wax. I could tear it now. End the torment. Show them all. My breath hitched, heart pounding. My wife's voice whispered one last time, "Stand tall." But before I could break the seal, the microphone screeched alive again. The planner's voice echoed, urgent, strained. "Ladies and gentlemen, before tomorrow there's something you must know." The planner's words cracked through the speakers sharp as thunder. Gasps rippled across the room, followed by silence heavy as stone. My pulse raced. My daughter-in-law's eyes narrowed, daggers in their gaze. Mark shot to his feet, gripping the microphone, yanking it away. His voice boomed, "Everything is fine. No need for panic." But his hand shook. The band struck a hurried chord, trying to drown the tension. Too late. The crowd had heard enough. Murmurs rose, threads of gossip stitching fast. I sank lower into my chair, chest tight. The envelope pressed harder into my ribs, reminding me it wasn't over. Tomorrow's noon bell would still toll, whether or not the planner spoke. I excused myself, slipping past tables. The air felt thick, heavy with perfume and sweat. Laughter tried to resurface, but it was thin, false. I reached the hallway, cooler, quieter. My phone vibrated in my pocket, a shrill buzz against my thigh. Unknown number? My hand trembled as I answered. 10 a.m., the voice snapped. It was the caterer. "Not noon, 10. I want the money then, or the food goes back on the truck. Understand?" My throat tightened. "But you said," he cut me off. 10 or nothing." The line went dead. I stared at the screen, heart plummeting. 2 fewer hours. The noose pulled tighter. The hallway lights flickered. A faint hum buzzed overhead, metallic and sharp. My head throbbed in rhythm with the sound. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to breathe. 10 o'clock, less than half a day away. My chest heaved, lungs shallow. Could I sell something? Could I beg? My options collapsed like a house of cards. The kitchen doors burst open nearby. The smell of onions, garlic, and grease rolled out, thick and choking. Workers bustled, trays clattering. I caught sight of the caterer himself, red-faced, barking orders. His eyes found mine, and he pointed 2 fingers at me. The message was clear. 10 o'clock, no mercy. I turned back toward the hall, but my knees buckled. I gripped the doorframe to steady myself. My hand brushed the envelope again, wax pressing into my palm. Should I open it now? Maybe it held guidance. Maybe it held nothing but more pain. My hand trembled, caught between fear and hope. A cough echoed down the hall. The planner appeared, sweat on his brow, papers clutched tight. "Don't speak here," he said. His eyes darted like a hunted man. "They're watching." He shoved another paper into my pocket. I wanted to protest, but he vanished before I could speak. My jacket sagged with secrets I wasn't ready to face. The sound of laughter drifted from the hall. Her laughter? My daughter-in-law's voice rose above the rest. "Don't mind him. He'll figure it out. He always does." The guests laughed with her, voices stabbing like needles. My eyes burned, throat dry. Always does. As if I were nothing but a checkbook. I stumbled to the restroom, splashing water on my face. The mirror reflected a stranger. Lines deeper, eyes hollow, skin pale. Drops slid down my cheeks, cold as rain. My wife's voice whispered again in memory, "You're stronger than you think." But the face in the mirror told me otherwise. The faucet dripped after I shut it, metallic blinks echoing. Each drop a countdown. 10 o'clock. My stomach turned. I wanted to smash the mirror, shatter the reflection, but my hands only clung to the sink. My body sagged, heavy as stone. How had I become this, begging shadows for mercy? I returned to the hall, eyes on the floor. Guests danced again, pretending nothing had happened. The band played louder now, drowning whispers in false joy. My seat felt colder than before, harder against my back. I slid into it, shoulders hunched. My son avoided my gaze, sipping his drink. His cowardice filled the room more than music. The waiter leaned close as he refilled glasses. His whisper brushed my ear. "They're saying you can't cover it." My breath caught. "Who's saying that?" But he only shrugged, eyes soft with pity, and moved away. My chest burned with rage. Rumors had spread like wildfire. My shame was the evening's entertainment. I pressed my fingers against the envelope again. My thumb traced the seal, wax rough against my skin. I wanted to tear it open, to hear her voice again, even if it was only ink on paper. But fear won. If it was nothing, I would lose even the illusion of her strength. My decision postponed again, crushing me. The chandelier flickered once more. Shadows jumped across the tables. My daughter-in-law raised her glass high, voice slicing through the hall. "To tomorrow. May nothing ruin our perfect day." Guests clapped, cheering. I heard her words twist. Nothing ruin. And I knew she meant me. My chest heaved with fury. I wanted to stand, to slam the invoice on the table, to expose them all. But my voice caught, locked inside my throat. My wife's face flashed in memory again, her gentle eyes steady. "Don't break yet," she whispered. I sank back, holding silence like a shield. The band's trumpet wailed high and shrill. My head throbbed with it, pain pulsing sharp. I closed my eyes, gripping the envelope like a lifeline. My pulse raced in my fingertips, matching the beat of the music. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. The words carved into my mind like stone. Mark leaned down finally, his whisper sharp, hot against my ear. "Stop looking so pathetic. Just fix it. Or don't bother showing your face tomorrow." My breath froze. His words struck harder than any laughter. He stood again, smiling wide for the crowd, as though nothing had passed between us. I wiped my mouth with the napkin, fabric rough, stained with old blood. My body trembled. My mind screamed, "Fix it," as if I hadn't already given everything, as if I hadn't already drained myself dry. My son's cruelty cut deeper than his bride's venom. This was betrayal, pure and final. The smell of spilled wine wafted from the next table, sharp, sour. It clung to my nose, stinging. My stomach turned with nausea, my chest tight with rage. I wanted to overturn the table, scatter the glasses, silence their laughter. But I sat still, hands trembling against my knees. The clock ticked louder in my head. 10 o'clock, not noon. Time slipping faster, stealing my last breath. Could I find a way? Could I beg a stranger? Could I sell my soul one last time? My chest burned, my heart pounded. Silence held me prisoner. The planner appeared again, pale, frantic. He leaned close, whispering through clenched teeth. "Don't give them more. You'll see why." His eyes locked on the envelope. His hand brushed mine, urging me to open it. My breath caught. My chest seized. Fear and hope tangled like rope around my throat. I pressed the envelope flat against the table, heart racing. My thumb slid under the wax, ready to break it. Guests still laughed, danced, drank, but my world narrowed to this moment. Her words, her warning, the truth I feared most. I tore the wax, but my phone buzzed again, rattling the glass beside me. I answered with shaking hands. The caterer's voice roared, 10 o'clock sharp. If I don't see the money, the trucks leave. His voice cut off. The line went dead, and my heart plummeted into silence. The phone slid from my hand, clattering against the glass. Heads turned, whispers hissed, but I didn't care. 10 o'clock, 2 fewer hours. The deadline tightened around my throat like a rope. My palms sweated. The envelope pressed against my ribs, sealed, waiting. My breath came shallow, uneven, like I was drowning. I staggered up from the table, ignoring the stares. My son watched me, his expression a mask, lips pressed thin. His bride leaned into him, smiling at the crowd. I saw her whisper in his ear, his jaw clenched, but he didn't move toward me. Not a single step, not a single word. The hallway felt cooler, but my chest still burned. I slipped into a side room, dimly lit, cluttered with papers and boxes. The scent of dust and ink filled the air. I needed silence, space to breathe. My hand shook as I pulled the envelope free. The wax gleamed under the weak bulb, daring me. I pressed my thumb against the seal, ready to tear it open. But my eyes caught on something else. A stack of receipts on the desk, scattered, some folded, some crumpled. My curiosity flared despite the storm in my chest. I reached for them, flipping through with trembling hands. There it was, a florist's bill. Mark's name scrawled at the top, bold and clear. Paid by Dad. My breath stopped. I had never seen this bill, never approved it, yet my name, my money, had been used. My chest heaved, rage swelling hot, sharp. My son had been signing me into debts. The paper trembled in my hands. I dropped it, the sound too loud in the small room. My knees nearly gave out. Betrayal cut deeper than the caterer's threats. My own son forging, hiding, using me like a purse he could bleed dry. My fists clenched until my knuckles ached. I picked up the receipt again, staring hard. The ink smeared slightly as if hurried. The signature wasn't mine. It was his shaky, poor imitation. My vision blurred with fury. I wanted to march into the hall, slam the bill down, expose him in front of every guest. My throat burned with the urge, but then doubt slithered in. If I exposed him now, in front of her, in front of them all, would I lose him forever? Would Mark hate me until my last breath? My chest tightened, the weight unbearable. The decision twisted inside me, postponed again. My hand shook with the choice I could not make. A chair creaked behind me. I spun. No one. Just shadows stretching long across the boxes. My heart pounded in my ears, loud and frantic. I shoved the florist's bill into my jacket with the envelope. More lies, more proof, more weight I wasn't ready to carry. I stepped back into the hall. The music swelled again, laughter rising with it. My daughter-in-law glided across the floor, gown shimmering, smile sharp. She locked eyes with me, raising her glass in mock salute. My chest burned hotter. My hand twitched toward my jacket pocket. Proof waited inside. Mark approached at last. His smile was for the guests, but his whisper cut like glass. "Stop digging, Dad. You'll regret it." His breath smelled of whiskey, sharp and bitter. My jaw clenched, my nails dug into my palm. But again, silence chained me. Rage swallowed back into my throat. The chandelier shone brighter now, flooding the hall in gold. It mocked me. Beauty on the surface, rot beneath. My stomach churned. My head pounded. Proof burned against my ribs, waiting to be used, but fear coiled tight inside me. Would they believe me, or dismiss me as a bitter old fool? I sank into my chair again, body trembling. The waiter passed, tray balanced high. He offered me water. I shook my head, my throat too dry for swallowing. His eyes lingered, soft, pitying. I looked away, hating the reflection of my weakness in his gaze. The planner stood by the doors, watching me, his foot tapping fast. His hand rubbed the back of his neck, nervous. He knew more. He always knew more. But he stayed silent, lips sealed tight. My chest ached. How many more secrets weighed on me? How many papers forged in my name? The band played louder, horns bright and false. Guests danced, dresses swirling, shoes tapping. Their joy carved deeper wounds in me. My humiliation was invisible to them, yet it consumed me whole. I pressed my palm to the florist's bill in my pocket, the paper rough under my fingers. I thought of my wife again, her laugh in the garden, her gentle hand on mine. She would have known what to do. She would have told me when to fight, when to wait. Tears pricked my eyes. I blinked them back, throat thick with grief. Her absence weighed heavier than any debt. My daughter-in-law's voice sliced through the music. Some fathers can't let go, always meddling, always ruining. Laughter followed, cruel and sharp. My body shook. I wanted to rise, to shout, to throw the bill in her face. But my voice betrayed me again, swallowed in silence. The chandelier flickered once more. Guests gasped, murmurs rising. I saw shadows leap across the floor, long and crooked. My pulse raced. The florist's bill pressed against me, proof of betrayal, waiting to be revealed. My chest burned with rage and fear. Which would win? Mark's eyes met mine for a flicker. His smile didn't falter, but his eyes held steel, a warning, a threat. My son, once my pride, now my enemy, in silence. My chest hollowed, heart breaking anew. Could I still save him, or was he already lost? The planner crossed the room, leaning close to whisper in my ear. There's more. Check the contracts. His breath was hot, fast, panicked. My chest tightened. More? How much more? How many bills forged in my name? How many lies built on my back? My body trembled under the weight of it. The smell of wax from the envelope rose faintly as I touched it again. My thumb pressed the seal, rough, under skin. My heart pounded. If her words were inside, maybe they'd give me strength. Maybe they'd tell me when to act. My chest heaved, torn between fear and hope. The clock ticked loud on the far wall. Each second a hammer against my ribs. 10 o'clock tomorrow. The caterer's voice still echoed in my ears. Time running out. My choices slipping like sand through my fingers. Proof in my pocket. Silence in my throat. I rose, legs shaking. The planner's whisper still lingered. Contracts. My wife's words haunted me. Stand tall. My chest burned, my body trembled, my hand clutched the envelope, wax rough against skin. I took one step forward, then another, toward Mark's desk, where the truth waited. But just as I reached the corner, the lights flickered again. The chandelier dimmed to a glow, shadows deepening. The band stopped mid-note. A voice rang out across the hall, sharp, female, mocking. "Careful, Dad. You might find what you don't want to see." And the laughter that followed cut me to the bone. Her laughter echoed, bouncing off the chandelier crystals sharper than glass. I froze mid-step, my hand half raised toward the desk. My daughter-in-law's eyes locked on me, gleaming with cruel amusement. She knew. She always knew when to strike. Guests glanced over, curious, sensing another humiliation. My chest caved inward, but my hand stayed firm. I forced myself to move, inching closer to the desk, tucked against the far wall. The air grew heavy with the scent of polished wood and faint cigarette smoke. Mark had always smoked in secret, even when his wife complained. The smell clung to the papers, bitter and stale. My hand hovered over the top drawer. The planner appeared at my side, pale, sweating. His hand trembled as he pointed. "The file," he whispered, eyes darting to the hall. "Second drawer." His urgency shook me. My breath caught. My fingers curled around the handle, metal cold and unyielding. The drawer creaked open, slow, too loud in the tense silence. Inside lay folders stacked high, neat and precise. Contracts, receipts, notes, all labeled with my name. My chest tightened. My hands trembled as I flipped through the papers. Upgrades, extras, luxuries I had never agreed to. Fireworks, premium bar, imported flowers. Each page bore my forged signature. My stomach dropped into stone. The planner leaned close, whisper, harsh. "He signed in your name, your son." The words slammed into me, heavy as hammers. My breath shook. My throat burned. Proof. The very thing I dreaded and needed. Betrayal laid bare in ink and lies. My knees threatened to buckle beneath me. I pulled one contract free. The paper crackled, thick, official. My eyes traced the loops of the forged signature. It was mine, but not. The D curved wrong, shaky. My vision blurred with fury. My son had taken my hand, my name, and twisted it into chains around my throat. The room spun. I gripped the desk for balance, the wood slick under my damp palms. Guests still laughed, danced, drank. They didn't know the walls were crumbling around me. They didn't hear the death knell pounding in my ears. They only saw an old man shaking in the corner. The planner's eyes darted toward the crowd. "Careful," he whispered. "They'll deny it. They'll turn it back on you. Wait for the right moment." His hand pressed mine flat against the contract as if anchoring me to it. My chest heaved. Wait, always wait. But time was slipping faster than ever. I shoved the contract into my jacket, alongside the florist's bill and the sealed envelope. Paper stacked against my ribs, heavy as stone. My body sagged under the weight, but my heart pounded hotter. I had proof now. Proof they couldn't erase. Proof that could save me or destroy me. My daughter-in-law's voice sliced through the music again. "Look at him. Can't even enjoy himself without snooping." Guests chuckled, sharp and cruel. My fists clenched. I wanted to storm forward, to slap the papers down, to tear away their mask of perfection. My lips parted, but no words came. Silence smothered me again. Mark appeared, tall, calm, smiling for the guests. His hand brushed my shoulder, firm but false. His whisper cut deep. "Put those back, Dad. Don't embarrass yourself." His eyes flicked to the crowd, then back to me, steel beneath the smile. My throat dried. The threat was clear. I sank into the chair by the desk, shaking. The music swelled again, louder, a cover for whispers spreading fast. The smell of spilled wine drifted in, sour, stinging. My stomach turned with nausea. Proof pressed against my ribs, burning like fire. But fear chained me still. Could I truly expose my own son? The chandelier flickered once more. Shadows stretched across the walls. A woman gasped, then laughed nervously. My eyes stayed locked on Mark, his smile wide, his hand tight on his bride's. His mask never slipped. My chest hollowed with grief. My son was gone, buried beneath greed. The planner paced near the door, foot tapping quick, eyes frantic. He wanted me to act, to rise, to expose it. But my body refused. My wife's voice whispered in memory, "Don't let them use you." Her words were a blade and a shield, but I was still too weak to wield them. I pulled the napkin from my pocket, stained with dried blood. I pressed it against my hand again, though the cut had closed. The rough fabric scraped my skin. Pain grounded me, a reminder I was still here, still alive, still holding proof of their betrayal. My jaw clenched hard. A waiter passed, tray clinking with glasses. He paused by me, eyes darting to the folder still half open on the desk. His lips parted as if to speak, then closed again. He walked on, silence heavier than words. Even strangers knew something was wrong. My shame spread further by the minute. Mark lifted his glass high again, voice booming. "To new beginnings!" Guests cheered, voices loud and hollow. His bride's laughter followed, shrill, triumphant. My fists trembled in my lap. "New beginnings," he said, built on my money, my name, my silence. My chest ached with rage too sharp to swallow. The planner slipped closer once more. His whisper trembled. "Not just him. Look carefully." My hands flipped another page, trembling. My eyes froze. The handwriting shifted. Different strokes. Feminine, neat. My daughter-in-law's hand, woven into the lies. My stomach dropped. She was in it too. I shoved the contract deeper into my jacket, my vision blurring. Betrayal layered on betrayal, son and bride, both forging, both bleeding me dry. My chest burned. My breath shook. Proof stacked higher, but my voice still chained. Could I survive speaking it aloud? Or would they crush me beneath it? The music faltered again. The trumpet cracked, sour and sharp. Guests laughed nervously. My eyes stayed locked on the floor, shadows shifting, swirling. I gripped the envelope once more, thumb pressing the seal. My wife's words still waited inside. My strength, maybe. My ruin, maybe. Mark's laughter rang loud, false, echoing through the hall. His bride leaned into him, her smile cruel, eyes fixed on me. They were united in this, united in my destruction. My body trembled under the weight of their scorn. My chest hollowed, grief and fury twisting together. The planner tugged at my sleeve, urgent. "Tonight, before morning, open it." His whisper cracked, desperate. His eyes glistened with fear. My hand pressed the envelope flat against my chest. Its wax dug deep, sharp against my skin. My heart pounded beneath it, wild, frantic. The clock struck 11. A heavy chime rolled through the hall, silencing laughter for a breath. Guests glanced up uneasy, then forced smiles back into place. My chest heaved. Time was slipping faster. 10 o'clock tomorrow loomed closer, crushing. Proof filled my jacket. Secrets pressed harder. I rose slowly, legs shaking, eyes fixed on my son. His smile never faltered, his bride's laughter never dimmed, but my hand clenched the folder tight. My chest burned with a fire I couldn't smother. My voice almost broke free. Almost. But before I could speak, the microphone screeched alive. The officiant's voice boomed across the hall. "Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow's ceremony may face a complication." Gasps rippled through the room, louder than the music, sharper than the whispers. And my son's smile finally cracked. The microphone screeched again, rattling crystal glasses on the tables. The officiant cleared his throat, his voice strained. "There seems to be an issue with arrangements." His words spread like fire. Guests leaned forward, whispers tumbling in waves. My chest seized. The envelope, the contracts, the forged signatures, they were no longer shadows. They were closing in. Mark stepped quickly, gripping the microphone with false charm. "No issue, just a misunderstanding. Everything's under control." His smile stretched too wide, teeth clenched, but his hand shook, the microphone trembling with it. My daughter-in-law's eyes darted around, sharp and panicked. For the first time all night, her mask cracked. The planner edged toward me, motioning to rise. His eyes were urgent, desperate. My throat tightened. This was the moment, my chance to expose them. My heart pounded, hammering against the envelope pressed flat against my ribs. Proof weighed me down, yet begged to be revealed. I rose slowly, the chair groaning behind me. Gasps rippled. All eyes turned. My knees trembled, but I forced one step, then another. My wife's voice whispered in memory, "Stand tall." The words steadied me, if only a little. I gripped the napkin in my hand, blood-stained, torn, my anchor. The officiant glanced at me, uncertain, his voice faltering. "Perhaps we should clarify matters before proceeding." Mark's smile collapsed into steel. His bride hissed something at him, low but sharp. Their hands gripped each other, fingers white with pressure. My chest burned. Even together they couldn't hide the fear. I reached the microphone. My fingers brushed it, cool metal under my skin. My breath caught. The hall silenced in a wave. I pulled the first paper free, the florist's bill. "This," I said, voice shaking but loud enough, "was paid in my name, but I never saw it, Never signed it. Gasps echoed sharp and loud. A woman covered her mouth. A man whispered, "Forgery!" My son's face hardened, color draining. His bride's nails dug into his arm. I pulled the second paper free, the contract for fireworks. The forged signature stared back at me. Crooked, wrong. This too, not mine. My chest heaved with each word, my body trembling. Rage spilled into my voice now. They used my name, my money, my life, and still they laugh at me. My daughter-in-law scoffed, raising her voice. Old man's confused, can't keep track of his own papers. Guests shifted uneasily, doubt flickering. I slammed the papers onto the table. The sound cracked like thunder. Confused? This is theft. This is betrayal. My hand shook, veins rising against my skin. My son stepped forward, trying to grab the papers, but the planner intercepted, holding him back. Enough, the planner hissed. The truth is here. The chandelier above flickered, shadows crawling across the walls. Guests leaned closer, murmurs swelling into outrage. He forged his father's name, someone whispered. Disgraceful, another muttered. The tide shifted. Whispers no longer mocked me. They condemned him. My son's shoulders sagged, his eyes darting. He was cornered. I pulled the envelope last, holding it high. Wax gleamed under the golden light. My voice cracked, raw with grief. And this, from my wife, from beyond. Her words, her warning. Gasps rose again, sharper, disbelieving. My daughter-in-law laughed, shrill. Now he's claiming ghosts send letters? Her voice wavered, fear beneath the mockery. I tore the seal with trembling fingers. Wax snapped, paper crackled. My hands unfolded the sheet. Her handwriting spilled across the page, loops and curves I knew better than my own. My eyes blurred with tears. Don't let them use you. Stand tall. My chest caved with grief and fury. The hall fell silent. Gasps turned to cries. It's her writing, someone whispered. Look at the ink, old but real. The planner nodded, his voice steady. She left it. She knew. Mark's face paled further, sweat beading on his forehead. His bride stepped back, her mask slipping into panic. The crowd turned, eyes sharp. I clutched the letter to my chest, my voice rising. She knew you would bleed me dry. She warned me, and I ignored her, but no more. My words shook, but they cut through the hall like a blade. Guests shifted, chairs scraped, whispers swelled louder. The tide had turned fully. Mark raised his voice, desperate now. He's lying. He's delusional. His hand reached for the microphone, but I held it firm. My daughter-in-law shouted too, voice shrill. He's making a scene to ruin our day. But their voices cracked, thin against the weight of proof. The crowd no longer believed. The chandelier swayed slightly, crystals clinking in rhythm with the tension. I pressed the letter flat against the table, my wife's words shining through ink. My throat ached, tears burning behind my eyes. My voice dropped low but strong. This wedding should not proceed, not under lies, not on theft. The officiant stepped forward, his voice grave. This ceremony cannot continue until this matter is resolved. Gasps erupted. Shouts followed. My son's face twisted. Fury and fear tangled. His bride's laughter died into silence, lips trembling. The crowd erupted louder, outrage now fully turned against them. The planner grabbed the microphone, his voice steady. You all saw the proof. Contracts, bills, forged signatures. His own father's warning ignored. Is this a foundation for a marriage? The hall broke into noise. Anger, disbelief, judgment. My heart pounded, tears streaming now. Justice had cracked open the mask. Mark shoved the planner aside, eyes wild. This isn't over. His voice broke. He turned to the officiant, desperate. We can still go on. Forget this nonsense. But the officiant shook his head, firm, unmoving. Not today, not tomorrow, not until truth is honored. My son's face crumbled. The bride hissed at him, voice sharp, venomous. You promised. You said it was handled. Her eyes flashed with rage, her mask gone. Guests gasped, whispers rising again. Their perfect facade shattered in front of everyone. I stood taller, letter in hand, proof clutched like a sword. The chandelier flickered once more, light dimming to a glow. My wife's words rang in my ears. Stand tall. I breathed deep, chest heavy but firm. My voice rose once more. This wedding is canceled. Gasps filled the room, sharper than thunder. The crowd erupted in chaos. Some shouted in outrage, others clapped in approval. Vendors exchanged worried glances, beginning to pack up. Chairs scraped, heels clacked across the floor. My son stood frozen, pale, broken. His bride shrieked, her voice cracking. but no one listened. The hall belonged to the truth now. The officiant raised his hand for silence. His voice was steady, unshakable. The ceremony cannot continue under fraud and betrayal. It is halted. Until this is resolved, there will be no vows. His words struck final, undeniable. My chest heaved. The weight began to lift. I pressed the letter against my heart, tears streaking my cheeks. My wife's presence felt near, her lavender scent drifting faintly in memory. I whispered under my breath, "I heard you this time." My body shook, but my spine straightened. I was no longer their fool. Guests murmured, shifting toward the exits. The planner touched my arm, steady, reassuring. "You did it," he whispered. My chest swelled, pain and relief tangled. But the clock on the wall struck midnight, its chime echoing heavy. The wedding might be halted, but the war wasn't over. Mark's voice cut through the noise, low but furious. "If you think this is finished, Dad, you're wrong." His eyes blazed, lips curled in fury. My chest tightened once more. The fight was not done. Not yet. And the morning deadline still loomed like a blade. The hall buzzed like a hive gone wild, whispers and gasps circling faster than I could breathe. The officiant's words still echoed. The ceremony halted, the truth exposed. I stood at the microphone, wife's letter clutched in my trembling hand. My chest burned, my throat raw. All eyes waited for me. My son's face twisted, red and pale in turns. His bride hissed at him, lips curled in fury. The planner held his ground, contracts pressed against his chest like armor. The crowd shifted uneasily, chairs scraping, shoes tapping. The weight of silence pressed harder than any noise. I raised the letter high once more. The handwriting shone under the chandelier, familiar, undeniable. "This is my wife's voice," I said, louder now, stronger. "This is the truth, and tonight I will no longer be silent." My chest swelled with a fire that had been caged too long. Mark surged forward, his hand gripping my arm. "Dad, stop this!" His voice cracked, desperation leaking through. "Think of what you're doing. Think of family." I pulled free, voice sharper than his. "Family? You forged my name. You bled me dry. You mocked my love. That is not family." Gasps rippled. A woman in the crowd shook her head, tears in her eyes. Another whispered, "How could he?" The tide had turned. The guests no longer looked at me with pity. They looked at him with disgust. My son, cornered, shrinking before their judgment. The bride stepped forward, her gown sweeping like a storm. "He's lying," she cried, pointing at me. "He's senile, confused, bitter." But her voice wavered, trembling, cracking at the edges. The crowd saw through her. Their whispers cut her sharper than I ever could. Her smirk faltered, fading into fear. The planner raised the contracts at last, his voice steady. "Here is the proof. Forged signatures, upgraded bills, all in the Father's name, and I will testify under oath." He slammed the papers onto the table. The sound cracked like thunder. The hall erupted in shouts. I turned back to the officiant, my voice rising. "This marriage cannot continue. It was built on lies, on theft, on betrayal. I will not fund it. I will not bless it. I will not stand silent while they destroy what my wife and I built." My hand shook, but my voice held. The officiant's face hardened. He nodded once. "Then this ceremony is canceled." The gavel of his voice struck final. Guests gasped, some cheering, others murmuring in disbelief. Vendors exchanged looks, already preparing to pack up. The truth had burned through their theater. Mark's face twisted with rage, his fists clenched, his chest heaving. "You'll regret this, Dad," he spat. His bride tugged his arm, whispering furiously. But no one listened. No one cared for their threats. The hall belonged to the truth now, not to their charade. I sank into my chair, body trembling, head bowed. The weight lifted, though scars remained. My wife's letter lay flat against my chest. Her lavender scent seemed to drift from the paper, impossible yet real. I whispered, "I heard you." Tears slipped free, hot, cleansing. The guests rose, their whispers shifting. Not pity anymore, respect, recognition. One woman touched my shoulder, murmuring, "You did right." A man nodded, firm, steady. My chest swelled with something I hadn't felt in months. Dignity. The shame loosened, falling away piece by piece. Mark stormed from the hall, door slamming behind him. His bride followed, her gown trailing like torn fabric. Their laughter was gone, silenced, their masks shattered before everyone. The hall exhaled with relief, though tension lingered. The battle was done, but the wounds would stay. The planner placed a hand on my shoulder, steadying me. "It's over," he whispered. My body sagged with exhaustion, but my spine stayed straight. I nodded, clutching the letter tighter. My wife had spoken for me, even from beyond. Her voice had saved me. The chandelier glowed steady now, no flicker, no shadow. Guests began to leave, shoes clicking softly against the floor. Some cast glances back, nodding with respect. Others shook their heads, muttering about betrayal. The truth had been laid bare. Nothing would erase it now. I breathed deep, the air lighter than it had been in months, my chest no longer caged, my heart no longer crushed. For once I felt free, not rich, not celebrated, but free, and dignity was wealth enough. I walked slowly from the hall, my steps steady. Outside, the night air was cool, crisp, smelling faintly of rain. The sky was dark, but stars broke through sharp and bright. I lifted my face toward them, letting the night wash over me. At home, the house greeted me with silence. Old wood creaked under my steps. The scent of tobacco lingered faintly, her scent still woven into the walls. The chair in the corner stood empty, but I felt her near. Her presence wrapped around me like a blanket. I placed the letter on the table, smoothing it flat. The ink glistened under the lamp, steady, clear, proof of her voice, proof of her love. I sat with it, hands folded, chest calm for the first time in too long. The clock ticked softly, each sound no longer a hammer, but a comfort. Time moved forward, but I no longer feared it. My wife's words echoed again. Stand tall. And tonight, I finally had. The house was still, my eyes closed, my breath deep. Peace, fragile but real, settled over me. Tomorrow would bring its own battles, but tonight I had won. I touched the letter once more, whispering into the silence. Thank you. My voice cracked, but it carried. The chair by the window creaked softly as if in answer. My heart eased. My wife had not left me, not truly. I leaned back, closing my eyes, chest full, not of bitterness, not of rage, but of dignity, reclaimed at last. And with it, a question lingered, burning soft but steady. What would you have done in my place?